the unexpected lesson that altered the journey. Some lessons don't arrive through struggle or ambition. They appear in quiet moments, disguised as simple observations, yet they reshape everything that comes after. For one person, an unplanned moment, brief, ordinary, easy to overlook, became the insight that changed the entire direction of their career. We often assume the most valuable lessons come from mentors, major achievements, or dramatic turning points. But the truth is far gentler. Sometimes the world teaches us through the smallest experiences, the ones that slip into our thoughts when we least expect them. In a fast-moving world where people chase clarity, these moments remind us that understanding often arrives when we stop trying to force it. Their journey had been steady. They were progressing, achieving, checking every box that defined a successful path. Yet something felt muted beneath the accomplishment. They followed the steps they were told would lead to fulfillment, but fulfillment remained strangely distant. Still, they kept moving forward, trusting the blueprint they had been taught. Then came the moment. Simple, quiet, almost forgettable. It happened during a routine day while they were observing someone work. A colleague, calm and focused, approached their tasks with a sense of ease they hadn't seen before. It wasn't skill alone. It wasn't speed or precision. It was something deeper, a sense of alignment between who they were and what they were doing. The sight stopped them. For a brief moment, the world seemed to slow. They realized they had never felt that kind of alignment in their own path. They worked hard, they performed well, but they had never felt that quiet harmony. The feeling of doing something that fit them in a way effort alone could never replicate. That realization settled in their mind like a seed. It didn't demand action. It didn't spark instant change. But it opened a new question, one they had never asked themselves honestly. What would my life look like if my work felt that aligned? It was the beginning of a lesson they would carry for the rest of their journey. The question stayed with them, quietly reshaping how they saw their everyday world. Tasks that once felt routine now revealed their true weight. They noticed how often they pushed through the day rather than move with it. How often they relied on discipline instead of genuine engagement. How rarely their work felt like an expression of who they were. The realization unsettled them more than they expected. As the days passed, the lesson from that small moment deepened. They began paying attention to what energized them and what drained them. Patterns emerged, subtle but undeniable. Certain tasks sparked curiosity, while others left them feeling disconnected. Certain conversations lit a spark, while others faded as soon as they ended. These observations didn't create clarity, but they revealed a truth they had ignored. Success without alignment can feel strangely hollow. The internal conflict grew slowly. On one hand, they valued the stability their career provided. It was safe, respected, predictable. On the other hand, they couldn't forget the feeling they witnessed, the quiet harmony that came from doing work that fit the person doing it. They wanted that feeling. They weren't sure how to find it, but the longing itself signaled the beginning of change. This tension sharpened during a project they were assigned, a project that demanded precision but offered no sense of purpose. They completed it flawlessly, yet felt empty afterward. That emptiness startled them. It revealed how much their path relied on effort and how little it relied on meaning. And once they saw the difference, they couldn't return to seeing their work the same way. The lesson returned again when they watched someone speak passionately about their craft. The speaker's enthusiasm filled the room, rising effortlessly from a place of authenticity. They realized that the glow they witnessed in others came from alignment, not achievement. And suddenly, the life they had built felt like a structure missing its foundation. The growing awareness didn't push them toward immediate change, but it shifted something inside. They began questioning not whether they could succeed in their current path, but whether succeeding there was enough. And once that question rooted itself in their mind, every step forward revealed the truth a little more clearly. The path they were on was stable, but it wasn't theirs. The realization quietly unraveled the certainty they once carried. Each day revealed another piece of truth they had long avoided. They were excelling at work that did not feel like their own. The disconnect grew heavier, not because the work was difficult, but because it failed to reflect the person they were becoming. And with every task completed out of obligation, rather than meaning, the tension within them intensified. They found themselves drifting into moments of reflection, on commutes, during breaks, in the quiet of the evening. Questions emerged that they had never allowed space for before. What if alignment mattered more than achievement? What if passion wasn't a luxury, but a necessity for the life they wanted to build? These questions unsettled them, because answering them honestly meant confronting the possibility that they had invested years into a path that no longer fit. The conflict swelled when they were asked to take on a new responsibility. It was considered an honor, another step upward, another sign of trust. But instead of excitement, a wave of reluctance washed over them. The role demanded more of the same work that had slowly drained them. Accepting it meant walking deeper into a version of their career that no longer resonated with their core. Declining it meant risking misunderstanding, judgment, even disappointment. This tension broke during a moment so quiet, it could have been missed. They were reviewing a set of tasks when they paused, really paused. They imagined themselves months into the future, carrying the same responsibilities with even less alignment than before. The vision felt suffocating, not because the work was unbearable, but because they finally understood the cost of ignoring the lesson they had been given. A life lived out of sync eventually erodes the parts of us that matter most. The intensity of that realization pushed them into a deeper emotional storm. Doubt fought against desire. Fear battled with clarity. They questioned every assumption they had made about what a career should look like. For the first time, they allowed themselves to imagine stepping away from a predictable path. The thought terrified them, but it also filled them with a spark of something they had been missing for years: possibility. This was the breaking point, not a dramatic collapse, but an internal shift in truth. The lesson that had once appeared so small had now become impossible to ignore. And with that understanding came a choice they could no longer postpone: remain misaligned in the comfort of the familiar, or begin the journey toward a life that finally made sense. The buildup was complete. The real change was about to begin. They reached a moment when honesty could no longer be postponed. The lesson that began as a quiet observation had grown into a truth they felt in every part of their life. Alignment wasn't optional. It was a foundation of fulfillment. And without it, even the greatest achievements would eventually feel hollow. So they made a choice, not sudden, not dramatic, but deeply intentional. They stepped back from the path that no longer fit and began exploring the one that did. They asked new questions about passion, purpose, and the kind of work that energizes instead of drains. They spoke to people whose careers were built on authenticity. They followed small curiosities that once seemed irrelevant. Each step felt uncertain, yet each one brought a sense of clarity they had been missing for years. As they leaned into the unknown, their world slowly expanded. They discovered skills they had ignored, interests they had buried, directions they had once considered impractical. What surprised them most was that the path forward wasn't built on a single leap. It was built on many small yes. Yes to curiosity. Yes to growth. Yes to a life that reflected who they were rather than who they were expected to be. The turning point arrived when they embraced an opportunity that aligned perfectly with the lesson they had been given. It wasn't the most prestigious choice. It wasn't the safest, but it felt right, deeply, quietly, undeniably right. And for the first time in years, their work and their identity moved in harmony. The feeling that had once belonged to someone else now belonged to them. Looking back, they understood the power of that unexpected moment. A single glimpse of true alignment had reshaped their entire trajectory. It taught them that fulfillment does not come from following a map. It comes from recognizing when your path no longer matches your spirit and having the courage to adjust your direction. What changed their career wasn't promotion, a setback, or a grand opportunity. It was a lesson hidden in an ordinary moment, waiting to be seen. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.